we going to do a FSD beta thing here, or
yeah, I thought I'd.
Oops.
Ian reached out on an email, and it was a great email asking some questions that I get a lot here. So I'm like, well, we should talk so that I can share what we've learned here. You guys.
Not the answer, just the questions.
Beta in Canada yet?
No, Friday. Elon just tweeted last night they should be deploying it in Canada Friday, probably.
We're all running safety scores already, though.
Yes, you guys are all
yeah.
running
Oh, you
safety
are?
scores. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's where all the questions
I'm on
are.
day 4.
Yeah. Ian's
Don't
like,
worry, there's a reset option.
yeah.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, well, then I have to drive, and how many more miles do I have to drive to after I reset it? Do I have to start the mileage all over again too?
Yeah, the full 100 miles that you have to do. Yeah.
Good thing I go into Vancouver on the weekend.
I'll meet you on the Malahat at 0200. We'll be driving back and forth to Nanaimo, okay?
How far do you have to drive?
100 miles, so 160 kilometers. Yeah.
In 7 days.
I've done 80, but I went down to 88%. I'm up to 94 again.
You're the best. I'm only at 90.
But I go out at 7 in the morning on Sunday and Saturday when there's no one else on the road.
Yeah.
That's good.
I've driven
Yeah, so-
with you. Sure.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
We were getting 88, like the average was down to about 88, 90, and we we're trying to figure out. Good job, David.
Wow.
Yeah, you haven't been cut off yet, David, on the highway.
Yes, I
Oh,
have. That's why it's
tricks to
98.
that.
Yeah,
Yes.
it'll go down farther than that. Just step on the brake once quickly when someone
That's
steps
what
out in
happened.
front of
That's
you.
what it's
Yeah,
all
don't
about,
do that.
heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking is the big one. That's the biggest impact
Yeah.
of the score.
Somebody should say, Elon, it's heartbreak, not hardbreak.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, do you want to ask your questions there, Heather and Ian, and then we can kind of.
Well, I know that you have strategies. I mean, of course I have questions. I started at 97, dropped down to 88. I'm back to 90. What I found helped me. I mean, and by the way, it's forward collision warnings for me. Like, okay, so I'm reading all kinds of things. And of course, there is conflicting, I don't want to say evidence, but conflicting information on YouTube. Where else? I mean, so, I mean, and I have read that, I mean, you indicated to me that anything that any errors that I get while autopilot is engaged don't count, but they seem to reflect on my score. I see my score dropping, and I'm trying to think what other errors did I get on this drive, and the only one would be like, for example, a forward collision warning, where I get the car screaming at me, where I'm driving through certain intersections that it always habitually has difficulty with. And what I'm doing now is leaving autopilot engaged. When I know I'm coming up to a place that it has trouble with, I disengage and drive manually, then engage again. And I've also found that I've taken to, late in the evening when there's no traffic, driving from my home out to Land's End Road, out to the ferry terminal and back at the speed limit with autopilot engaged, staying well away from anybody else. To me, it's a cheat. It's disingenuous when I shouldn't have to do that, but I don't see that I'm ever going to get there if I don't cheat. And I hate to say that.
Or just learn the system,
Well, but I'm driving like a little old man as it is. Like, I mean, I think
I saw some guys from Vancouver, they put on, they're putting a notice on the back of their car. If you see me driving like a little old grandma, and I thought to themselves, well, I'm the little old grandma.
And I don't drive like that.
James and Lisa, what I'd appreciate from you two is like some kind of an overview, because you
Yeah,
guys.
want a primer?
Yeah,
Here's
a
the
primer.
primer. So yeah,
Please.
keep it on autopilot. And when you don't, and when you can't keep it on autopilot, make sure you know the 6 rules.
Yeah,
right?
5 rules, but yeah.
Okay, so when you're not on, so we actually found a way to go all the way down into downtown LA and come back through hellish traffic and still
Get a
retain
98.
A 98.
Yeah.
So it's still possible. You just have to be careful whenever you're, and that's true, whenever you're on autopilot, it shouldn't, and we haven't.
It won't.
It won't affect your safety score. The only ones that will are the times you're not on autopilot, and that's when you're going on on-ramps. So if you're going on an on-ramp and you're off autopilot for any time, you got to remember that turns and speed are like a killer, because you've got this 0.4
Gs, yeah.
requirement, which is kind of like if you took a turn at about 30 kilometers an hour, a 90-degree turn at 30 kilometers an hour, that's about the limit. You got to stay below that.
Yeah.
So when you're coming off a highway or any road and you have to turn manually, make sure it's below 30.
Yeah,
That's your gentle grandma turn. And then once you're straight,
go, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
We're talking 30 miles per hour,
pardon me?
Yeah, that's probably 50.
20
50K.
miles and 30 kilometers.
Okay,
So for turns, you want to keep it under 20 miles an hour, which is about 32K. For the following too close, it's over 80. When you're over 80 kilometers an hour is when that kicks in.
Yeah.
So if you're in
closer,
city
yeah.
streets, just below 80, your following too close shouldn't be a factor, but collision alerts will be a factor.
And hard braking.
And hard braking, yeah. So
Yeah.
hard braking, I checked into this. I got to meet and I've had a couple Zoom sessions with the director of the safety score in Tesla Insurance. And so he gave me some tips and he's been answering my questions as I send them. And he said, anytime you're using regenerative braking, it won't hit you for hard braking. So regenerative braking on its own is the best way to brake. He says there's some edge cases where it might hit you based on like the type of road and if you're in a turn,
Well,
but otherwise it won't impact you.
but if you're on autopilot and the light turns yellow and the car goes, whoa.
You're safe, yeah.
You're okay as long as you don't take out
Don't
autopilot.
disengage. So
If
my
you
mistake,
disengage and brake, you're dead.
you get hit.
Yeah.
Autopilot is allowed to aggressively brake and not impact your score. So what I've been doing and how I've been getting these high scores in LA traffic is just leaving autopilot on. As long as it's not to the point where I feel I'm going to hit somebody, I let the car do the aggressive brake and my score's fine.
Except for that ambulance.
Yeah, the one time I got hit is I was coming up to a light that was green. I saw an ambulance that was going to cut in front of me. I'm like, well, I can't run the freaking ambulance
The
on a
car
green
wants to
light.
keep going, but you can't.
So I braked aggressively and I got hit. And he said, but luckily, overall, as your score builds, because it's a rolling average over 30 days and 1,000 miles, I believe. And if you have those odd situations where you have to do something aggressive because, you know, police services, ambulance, fire, it shouldn't overall impact your score as you build that history, 30 days, 1,000 miles. You guys are at this early phase. So every little mistake has this big swing on your score. And what I did is what kind of what Ian said there. So I kept having all these issues. So I'm like, screw it. We reset it. We went during the day on a Sunday. We went on a 200-mile trip up to visit a petting zoo for Lisa to see some animals. And we came back with a 99 safety score. And since then, it's been easier to keep it in that 98, 99 because it's weighted towards a longer drive.
And it's also good just to take
Yeah.
little drives and see what it did. Take little drives, see what it did.
Yeah. So
Well, I found just a 20-kilometer drive can bring back my score at least 1% if I stop and then go again, get out of the car, go again, then it may bring it down another percentage point
yeah.
too as you go.
How about rollers on the wheels and sitting in your garage?
It's just drive, yeah.
Like a dyno.
Kind of like Ferris Bueller.
Yeah.
Just go watch the football game. Turn the car on.
Yeah.
okay, so I have a question.
Okay.
So one of these many YouTube PhDs mentioned that, I mean, his cheat or his trick was to reset. He went for a drive. He attained a 99 or a 100 score. He parked the car in the garage for 7 days, didn't touch it. He was out of town on business anyway. Came back, lo and behold, had the email inviting him to join the club, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know how valid that is because that sort of conflicts with other information that I'm getting off of YouTube. I mean, you mentioned a rolling average over 30 days. I mean, 30 days, 7 days is not 30 days.
No, it's not. So yes, that is actually a technique, but don't do it. I mean, enjoy your car.
There's
If-
not a minimum time though.
There's not a minimum time. It's
There's
a
only a
minimum
minimum
mileage.
distance,
You
yeah.
need to do the 100 miles before you'll be considered a safety score that's valid for beta. So
Right.
if you only do 20 miles and you have a perfect score, you're not getting beta.
Right.
You have a total of 100 miles. So if you only do 101 miles and then let it sit
then
while you
park.
wait, yeah, you'll get it
Okay.
eventually. But see, we've had a high safety score that qualifies us for 3 months. We haven't been added because Tesla doesn't need any more beta testers at this point. So we're just kind of waiting. So there's no guarantee. Like that's the thing that a lot of people are not realizing. Just because you get the score does not mean you will get into the beta program because Tesla needs beta testers to
Right.
they'll pick from that pool.
Right.
So,
On
and there is no
Sunday.
priority. It's very random and Tesla will pick based in areas they want beta testers, right? Like, So they might pick Vancouver Island because they don't want snow. They want, more, temperate climates. Or they might pick Toronto because they want more of.
Crazy drivers.
Exactly. Or they, so I think the biggest thing people misrepresent is they think if they get to this point, they will guarantee get it. No, you won't. It's up to Tesla. And even now, like Tesla's changed the rules where I can't even transfer the beta license that I have to a new car. They're like, well, you sell your car, go do the safety score and wait. So you're not guaranteed nothing in this.
Per vehicle. I read that.
Yeah. So basically, the safety score overall, I think is a great idea. And I should tell you guys this. So when I talked to Nelson, he said, this is beta safety score. So this is them just getting into this industry and trying to figure out how all this is working and all the feedback they're getting from the cars and from people. And so this is like version 1 of the safety score system. Like there's going to be a version 2 and a version 3. And even they've said that the 5 items they're tracking now may not be what they track in the future. They're going to move it based on where the data goes, where the safety information shows them. Because ultimately Tesla just wants us to all be safer drivers. And the longer we use it, it's interesting. It's frustrating because you want to get that score to get the prize that we all want, which is FSD beta for those that want it. But ultimately, if you just kind of work with the safety score, its goal is to make you a safer driver. I mean, that's ultimately Tesla's goal, is for safe roads and less accidents. So it does do that when you kind of figure out those variables and what's hitting you, like those collision alerts that you're getting in. If I was noticing Lisa saying this to me. It has to be a collision alert, not a warning that you're leaving the lane, or a warning that you're like any warning that's not a collision alert doesn't impact your score.
So is the collision alert when the big red?
When you get the red flashing thing.
The red steering wheel?
The car doesn't know where to go. The
Yeah.
car doesn't know where to go to these intersections, like again, Lochside School, the same intersection all the time. And I mean, I have my hands on the wheel, but clearly I need to have, even if I have my hands on the wheel, like yesterday, it screamed at me again. So I was on yesterday morning.
Okay, that shouldn't impact your score.
And autopilot disengaged.
Yeah,
right?
autopilot disengages, but that shouldn't impact your score unless the only thing that could do it is if you use the steering wheel to disengage and your car jerks and you cross 0.3 Gs, it could hit you as like an unsafe turn or something like that. But that isn't a forward collision alert. The forward collision alerts we have here is on unmarked roads when you have cars parked on either side and you have a turn and there's a car in front of you, but you're turning. The car's like beep, 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 boom, strike on your safety score. It's a big hit when you have that. Yeah. So the thing I found out with that is when you know that's going to happen, flick your turn signal on. So
that's another trick.
So if you're coming to a left turn and there's a car on the arc and you're coming up to it, you're like, I'm going to get a forward collision alert. Flick your left turn signal on, go past the car, and the car knows you're going to turn left through the turn signal and doesn't do the forward collision alert.
So does the turn signal mean all of a sudden any collision alert is?
I haven't tested it because I don't want to hurt my safety score, but the one for me is when I'm pulling in my garage.
Guinea pig.
Sorry. Yeah, if you want to be the guinea pig again, but
I'll be the witch dummy.
Yeah.
Go a different way.
Go a different way. Yeah. The other thing you do is be more central to the road so you're not close to the car because that's what throws the collision.
Every time I get that.
The good news is once Tesla releases the Pure Vision, which is in new 3s and Ys and is now going to be in new S's and X's, that has less forward collision alerts. It's the radar that's in the forward collision alert.
What about the reboot trick?
That doesn't work. They fixed that.
Okay.
They fixed the hack.
Okay.
So what about us? What about us folks with older vehicles that don't have the newer cameras, the newer hardware?
Oh,
How is that going to work?
you won't get beta until you get those cameras replaced.
So is that, I mean, I've read that here and there. I mean, is that what Tesla is planning to do? Replace the cameras on my 2017?
Yes, 100%. So, but this is something that they don't publicly announce, but it's there if you look for it in writing. A high safety score gets you higher priority to get those cameras
Get the
replaced.
cameras.
Your safety score, it helps you get higher in that queue because you're qualifying. I don't agree with that because it's kind of like it's an unfair measuring stick. to do to people, but
Especially since they don't really tell
so
you.
what you can do, Ian, is once you get your score up into the 90s,
Yeah.
you reach out to,
Yep, go ahead. Go ahead.
you could inquire. I mean, they don't like you asking, but it's been a while. Say is, you know, I'm in the safety score. I'd like to get FSD beta. What is the chances of getting my camera retrofit? But
And-
I would
Hey, go
not say that to the public at large because they don't want everyone constantly asking for the cameras. You kind of like the hardware 3 computer thing, and people constantly asking for that replacement.
Well, I know it's going to happen eventually anyway. I mean, I paid for FSD, so it's got to happen, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and probably the longer I leave it, I might even get a better camera. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the cameras are really good. They have more color, and they're if you look now on your repeater cameras, the color's off a little bit. The reds, there's no red. I think red looks orange. The new cameras, you see red better. So
James, how old are the old cameras? What year do they go up
the
to?
it's cars older than late 2017, I think, that need to have the camera retrofits done. Yeah,
So everything after that is okay.
it should be okay. Yeah.
So,
Go ahead, David.
yeah, the whole thing about being in the testing program too is that you have to give them permission to collect your data.
Correct.
So the whole safety score thing that you're saying they're dabbling with, they're also dabbling with insurance.
Yes.
I suspect that this
100%.
whole process is going to be hugely valuable to them because nobody else in any industry, automotive or insurance or anything, is got anywhere close to this kind of data on the relationship between accident events and
Yes.
dangerous events. You know, sometimes I think I should be paying more insurance because I just think I'm fucking lucky. You know, the times I haven't hit something,
Yeah.
or I've missed speed traps, or
Yeah.
like when I think of my entire driving career, I've had like 2 traffic tickets in my life.
Yeah.
So it's a pure luck because I know other people who drive as well as I do who just seem to get them all the time.
Yeah.
But anyway, they're going to have this incredible
Database. Yeah.
lot of super valuable information and data, and this is a very good way for them to collect it and draw more people. I know that they're altruistic about safe drivers and wanting the road safer. I get that. That's no doubt a goal, but they certainly are benefiting from that.
Yeah, it helps with the
Insurance
safety.
industry perspective, right?
Yeah, definitely. And that's another thing you said there, David's a good point. When you join this FSD beta program, you are directly allowing Tesla to link your VIN to your driving. So they know who you are, where you go, and you are authorizing to use that information to
Yeah, and some people are sensitive about that and wouldn't
Yes.
do it for that sole reason. However, when you get the form to sign on for beta, it's just one of the boxes.
Yeah.
So some people, if they ask, you have to let them know that you do have to give up that privacy.
Yeah, I mean, it's giving it up, but it's also not, because you're trusting Tesla with the data. And
Yeah, to Tesla. I mean,
Yeah.
I have no problem.
it's just Tesla. And the other thing to know is once you get beta, your safety score disappears and you can drive however you choose.
So I was going to ask that. That's good.
Because that was kind of my fault in some of the early beta testers. When safety score launched in the US, beta had safety score. And I did a drive with beta and I'm like, hey, Elon, you know, beta got like a 60, right? And all of a sudden, all our safety scores disappeared in the beta program because we were showing how bad beta was to their stick. So it was hilarious. So that's why you lose it and they don't watch you anymore. So
That's perfect.
once you get beta, the only way you can be removed is if you are distracted driving. So they watch you, they watch your eyes, and if you're looking at your phone or you're looking at your screen too long, you get strikes.
Yeah.
Strikes, you're out. They
Not
not to 5. It used to be 2.
I got a strike just by looking at the map. I'm like, blah, blah, and it's beeping at me.
Well,
it's
we're
beeping.
lucky. We actually go have strikes. We have some flag that doesn't count our strikes because we're an OG beta tester, but
We have a James flag.
we have a James flag. But when the S gets it, we'll get strikes. We'll get strikes on it. If we
I
have-
don't care. I know you. That's enough for me.
Yeah, but yeah, so like, once you get beta, it changes, and I should,
Well, then you're driving differently.
Oh,
because-
yeah.
Because now
Then you're a
basically,
defensive driver.
Teaching
Yeah.
the computer
you're
that's-
teaching the computer.
that's
Yeah.
now kind of driving like sometimes an idiot.
Yeah.
And most of the time, okay.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, so now you're not driving in safety score mode. You're driving in
Teenage learning
teenage-
driver
teenage
mode.
17-year-old mode. You know, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
different. It depends which car we drive. So one we have to drive really carefully. The other one, we have to watch out for it.
Doesn't try to
stupid
do
things.
something stupid, yeah.
This is going to be you guys on the first time Mitchell hits the road.
Yeah,
We hit the road. You're going to be sitting there watching their safety
Yeah, yeah.
score as
Oh, I know.
they
Yeah, yeah.
drop. Hey,
that would be great,
calling
yeah,
on the other phone. Hey, slow down.
Oh,
yeah. See your 60 safety score. Yeah, so I mean, once you figure it out, Ian and Heather and everyone that's trying to do this, once you kind of get a feel for it, it'll make it easier. And
Sure.
but it is stressful because the first thing I do after a drive is look at my safety score to see if it's dropped another point, because I'm right at the cusp of going down below where I'll get beta on the S. So I totally understand what you're going through when you're trying to get it up that 90.
We have all this construction around. So I went on a drive today. I was going out to do some running around, and it's constantly kicking out of
Autopilot.
AP because
Yeah.
of the road conditions and
Yeah.
circumstances. And
Yeah.
I saw this big pothole coming. The car wasn't going to avoid it.
No.
So, I quickly go out. And so anyway, this is going on constantly. And then there's speed signs that they don't see through playground areas that have been
Yeah.
changed, but they haven't. So it's at 50. So you got to slow it down. And the lines aren't lined up right where they made the new construction. So all of a sudden the car, it jerks left, you pull it back, it kicks off. And then all of
Yeah.
a sudden, like you had said earlier, you're in the act of jerking back into the lane. It's just like whoop, that fast. But on the way out, you jerk, it's off, and then you jerk back and you lose a point.
Yeah.
And the hard collision one, it was, I don't know, it wanted to change lanes while a car in front of me jerked out of the lane and a car cut me off all at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's like, I surrender.
So what if we disengage? Like what I'm doing now is when I, like, for example, that troublesome intersection at Lockside Elementary, I'm just disengaging, gently disengaging my AP before I
Yeah.
get, does that work? Or is that going to screw
Yeah,
me?
no, that works. If you disengage and you drive manually, technically you're supposed to
watch
have,
your braking.
just watch your braking and watch your turns.
Watch
But
your turns.
so where I try to always use autopilot is off ramps and on ramps where there's an arc. Like in LA, we have lots of 270-degree turns. Those hit your safety score because of hard turning. So I try to use autopilot in that. If you use autopilot and you use the accelerator to kind of encourage it to go a little faster, it doesn't hit your safety score. So you can kind of tweak it through using your foot to keep it moving a little faster on autopilot. The other one we get hit with that I've noticed is in LA traffic is if you're on autopilot and autopilot isn't changing lanes, you guys don't have 6 lanes of traffic, but and the guys next to you aren't yielding, so you have to disengage and squeeze in to make your exit. You're going to get hit with following too
Unsafe
close
following.
because you have to squeeze in with less than 1 second in front of you. So you kind of have to start thinking far enough ahead. You're like, okay, I'm in this nasty traffic. I know autopilot's going to give me a hard time moving over. I'm going to start moving over now and get over sooner to allow it to not impact your score. Because I even did a test once where I needed to squeeze through 2 cars to get the HOV lane. There was more than enough room, but I'm like, yeah, I'm getting hit with safety. I'm following too close. I disengaged and I tried to do it within 3 seconds to see if I could get my 3-second buffer. It still hit me with following too close.
Yeah, there is no.
I don't think, they swear there's a 3-second buffer and I'm trying to set up a meeting with them. I'm like, dude, there's no 3-second buffer.
It's like a,
Watch my car. There's no
it's like
3-second buffer.
It's like a 3-second rule when you drop peanut butter on the floor.
Yeah, it's like
No,
1, 2,
it's not.
3. There's your 3 seconds.
See, that's the other test they're doing to see how long it takes you to figure out their lying.
Yeah, right.
They should have a lying score for them.
Yeah, right.
We score them. No, that's funny. That's interesting.
Question in terms of follow too close. What I've been doing on the highways, I set my car up now when I'm using autopilot. I set it to 7 so that I have as large
It
a
actually
gap.
doesn't matter.
That doesn't help.
As long as you're on autopilot, it doesn't matter what the number.
As long as it's on autopilot, but the trick would be, Ian, if you have it set to 1 or 2, which the 2-second following distance. So just when you're on the highway next, set it on to like 2, 3, and just do the trick when you're in defensive driving classes where you count how long it takes for that point just passing it to you.
5 seconds.
Yeah, so the way the way following too close works is it's the proportion of the time that you're closer to of 3 seconds that you're actually closer than 1 second to the car in front of you. So the safety score is a relation of 1 second to 3 seconds, because you should be 3 seconds. Technically 3 seconds is the safe. You should be able to have 3 seconds to react to the car in front of you. That's what you're taught, or what, the rule of thumb. None of us really do it. It's based on the traffic around you, because in LA, if you have 3 seconds, you're going backwards, because someone is cutting into that 3 seconds in front of you. A semi is cutting into that 3 seconds in front of you. So
Good.
you have to drive for the conditions. But if you're going to disengage autopilot, try to get a little further back. So when you disengage, because then it starts counting on you, because your autopilot's on, you could be right up to someone's butt. It doesn't count.
Yeah.
But if you disengage it,
If you
counts.
disengage and someone cuts in front of you, you're gone.
you're
That's
hit.
it, because that's follow too close.
Yeah.
So if you can do it all on autopilot, great. But if you can't, you just got to watch the space
So
and
if
the amount of turn torque.
Yeah.
so, if you're on the highway and someone's trying to merge, oftentimes we have a situation where you need to slow down to let them in because autopilot won't,
Yeah.
unless they're
So in
all
that situation,
coming into the lane, they'll slow down. But if you use the scroll wheel to slow down instead of your brake, right?
Yes,
bingo.
yes.
Or
Okay.
if you turn off autopilot and just let regenerative braking back you off, and then
Oh, yeah.
that's the other thing
But
you can
don't
do.
touch the brake.
Yeah, just don't touch the brake,
Yeah.
or just gently tap it and then give the space and then re-engage autopilot as they cut in front of you. And then the second autopilot's re-engaged, you're fine, because it's now canceling all safety score. So there's little tricks like that, but here, just so you guys know, here, we're starting to see autopilot yield to a turn signal. So if they see
Yeah.
a turn signal, it'll actually slow down and let them get in.
Autopilot is more polite than we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other day driving to the LAX, Lisa was like, is autopilot slowing down for that car? And it did. It slowed down and let the guy in
It's
front
like-
of us.
It's like it knows the zipper.
Yeah. So it's coming where things like that are being fixed, and it's actually doing proper driving techniques.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Because if I slow down by regen or even the scroll wheel, the brake lights are showing, right? So the
Yes.
guy- yeah.
Yeah.
It's like when you fully remove your foot from the throttle that the brake lights
Yes.
and full regen, because partial regen. if you
No,
ever-
partial regen should trigger it. It's the same thing the safety score uses. Brake lights come on based on the G forces of the deceleration. I
Oh,
don't
is that right? Okay.
remember. I want to say it's almost like, yeah. So
I thought it was just when you were slowing down at all.
no, if you do
Oh.
very slow, like if
Yeah.
you use the accelerator throttle,
Just
the
a little bit?
deceleration, it may not put the brake lights on. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was half or more, but then it could be the G force.
I think
yeah.
it's the G forces that trigger.
Well, that
the
makes
brake.
sense, right? Because it's gonna, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes, cool. Okay, good. That's interesting.
I did hear, oh, go ahead. Ian, Sorry.
I just want to clarify something. So what I've been
Sure.
doing, like the on-ramp issue, when I allow somebody to merge in front of me, because I know when they cut in front of me, I'm going to get dinged. I've been using my stock, my AP stock, just tapping it down fast so that I stay in autopilot, because my concern is that if I disengage and tap my brakes or whatever, I'm going to get whacked because now I'm following too close. And what I thought I heard you just say was that I won't get whacked if I disengage autopilot.
Well, it depends.
Depends on the
It
space.
depends on the space. So if you disengage autopilot, because you see someone that's going to want to cut in front of you to get off the highway, for example. If you disengage autopilot before they cut and you back off to give that 1 second gap, you're
Yeah.
fine.
As long as you don't decelerate too fast during that time.
You'd
because
have to
that
use
would be
brakes.
hard braking.
If you,
Okay.
So that's why I use the scroll wheel should.
yeah,
work.
use the scroll
Yes.
wheel. But what you were doing also, Ian, is great. If you're using the scroll wheel to slow down to let them in, that also works good because your autopilot's on. So if they cut
Yeah.
you're fine. And then the car will automatically back away from them because they're now
Well,
somewhere in front of you.
Do you know what point when the car is merging in front of you or changing lanes in front of you, just slowly, like properly, nothing wrong?
Yeah.
Do you know at what point, what distance the car sees that and decides to accommodate it as opposed to not accommodating it?
Technically, it should be as soon as they cross that line.
Yeah.
If
Gotcha.
they start to cross that line, it's considered an object in front of you in that lane. Yeah.
Because sometimes they're moving over, but they're not touching the line. And you're just an asshole if you don't let them in.
Yeah. And then
But
same,
and you wish, and even their signal is going, so you kind of wish that autopilot would pick up on that. And someday it will, no doubt. But
and it always does on an on-ramp. So cars that come on an on-ramp, your car will yield to it. It should be yielding to an on-ramp and let them in front of you.
yeah, this is on the the highway out of town at Mackenzie, there's 2 lanes merging. And I'm
Yeah.
not sure the one beside isn't considered a third lane rather than a merge lane. It ends eventually though. So it is
Yeah.
effectively a merge lane.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So I wasn't clear on whether the car would do it or not. If you wait long enough and the car doesn't do it, then you look like a jerk. So you never really wait long enough. You always intercede to you let the person in. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just that it's, you get used to it after you spend some time with it. It took us a little while, and then I really needed to, when I talked to Nelson, and he really, because my mistake was using autopilot, and then when I knew autopilot was coming up to a stop car
yellow
too
light.
fast, I would intervene and try to do a nice slow deceleration. I
And
would
then never-
constantly get hit. And Nelson was like, just let it brake for you and you
Yeah.
won't get hit. So as soon as I started letting autopilot do that late brake and come to a complete stop, I was able to get 98, 99s because I wasn't trying to anticipate a problem. Like I said, it's tricky because sometimes you guys remember on anyone that's driven Souk Road, as you come around a corner and there's stop traffic and autopilot's like, I'm coming right through, guys, look out. So you have to hammer on the brakes, but it's getting, yeah. So just let it do the braking for you as much as you feel safe to let it do that. And if you want to intervene, do it really early and let the regenerative braking do the braking.
I find sometimes to release it, it starts to brake. And then once I've slowed from say 60 to 40, then I
Yeah.
re-engage and then it continues to brake on its
Yes.
own. But
Correct.
it starts to brake too late and the
Yeah.
passengers start to get edgy because it's like,
Yeah,
the cars
That's
are
radar.
stopped at the red light.
yeah, that's the radar. Hopefully we get rid of that radar soon.
And Ray Jen should
Is it
say
still
out
using that?
loud,
Yeah,
should
all
say,
of these-
"Oh, no, the cars are
everything.
stopped. I see the red light. It's okay. Relax. I'll stop." Because it makes me nervous too sometimes.
Okay, I have a question, two-part
Sure.
question. Okay, so if I decide that I want to reset, because right now I'm at 90 and I'm not sure how long I'm gonna have to drive to get to 100.
Yeah.
I don't want to reset. So what I've read and what I've heard is that there's 2 ways to do it. The first one is to hit that button, the FSD button, go into my menu and hit the button. And the first question is, how long does it take for that reset to take place? I'm hearing variously 12 hours, I'm hearing 24 hours. And the second question is, can I achieve the same thing by doing a hard reboot by hitting both scroll wheels right after a drive, like just hitting, and that will clear my cache or clear the memory altogether. And then I'm basically or effectively back to 0.
So
Without-
the second one, the scroll wheel reboot, Tesla
Yeah.
says that it won't clear it. So
It won't.
I tried that recently, it won't clear it.
Okay,
They fixed
But
that.
it used to.
It used to.
It used to.
For the clearing the score back to 0 miles, 0 score, yes. So what you do is you hit the request FSD beta button. It says you want to remove yourself from the queue. You say yes. You leave it until the safety score disappears from your app. So that can vary. As soon as the safety score disappears from your app, re-enable it, everything's reset. So you're starting like you're just starting fresh. That's what I've done. Yes.
okay, good.
So that's the way to kind of like reset your score, because you're right, it's weighted. So you'd have to do a lot of miles really good to drag that score back up. Whereas you reset it, you can get 100 and hold that high score. Yeah.
But
Going in and out. I'm going in and out.
Yeah.
you should go out and do some like tests.
Yeah, do some tests.
Like,
Yeah.
just try out new techniques and then short little runs, especially like merging on or going by the school.
I have been so careful.
Yeah.
I honestly,
They're just
I
like,
so careful. I'm dangerous. I mean, I think that I'm a hazard on the road. I'm driving so carefully that people are not anticipating that I'm going to drive a 90-year-old
I
guy.
know.
You're too careful.
too careful.
Yeah.
This morning I went for a drive about between 7:30 and 9. I never seen so many Teslas on the road. I figure they're all
It's
out
the
there trying to
safety
get their
score
score.
It's the safety score club. Yeah.
We should get a.
We've got the basis of a whole new club.
Yep.
Vancouver Island Safety Score, SCVI.
Yeah. The safety
We need
score
to
club.
SCVI. Can I ask a question just going back? This is, am I allowed this 160 kilometers? I'm given 7 days to do it?
No. You,
Okay.
they're
You can do it
so,
in one day.
so
Oh,
Tesla's,
well,
they're going to wait 7 days before they review scores and start giving out beta. That's all that is.
Oh,
So they're giving you 7 days because they just gave it to you. You have to do 160 kilometers, and they're trying to give everyone time to do the distance you have to do to be considered and kind of figure out the system.
Yeah,
So
okay.
push that another week. So right now it looks like Friday will be your day.
Right.
You can kind of watch us. If I post that I've gotten beta on Tuesday, Friday might actually stick. If you see me saying Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, yours is going to move based on the US deployment of it.
Okay, so there's no time
It'll
limit.
always be first, then Canada will get the update.
So there's no time limit. I thought I had to do it
No.
within 70. So what happened to your old beta thing?
We still have it. The 3 still's got it. Yeah.
Oh, so you're trying to get
Yes,
it.
we're trying to get it on the S as well.
Oh, I get it. Now I get it. Sorry.
yeah, but
I
we
thought it
got
went
on
with,
the
yeah.
3, not through safety.
No,
Score.
that was back when it was given
That
to
was in
owners clubs.
October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was granted like a fairy.
Yeah, October 2020, yeah. Back in the day, it was when it was ordained upon
Yeah,
you.
that's right.
Just for
Worthy.
a quick break from the safety score chat,
Yeah.
which is brilliant. That's great. This is really helpful.
Thank
But
you.
that new Tesla service center thing, I read somewhere, I just wanted to see, run it past you, James, that it's apparently going to be a sort of a flagship store for Canada. Is that?
It is
Did I get that from
100%.
you anyway? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a flagship store because Vancouver Island has the highest uptake of EVs in Canada.
It's
Wow.
huge.
It's
I
it's
know.
a massive
I saw that
facility, 30 to 50 million dollars. It's massive.
Really? 30 to 50 mil? What?
It's like a factory.
Shit.
Yeah, it's, oh, go ahead, Glenn.
Okay. So, 40 to 50 million that ended up in the press. I talked to the developer there, the developer lady. So I walked up to her and says, so is it true it's like, 40 to 50 million dollars? Because I'm looking around and you know what's in one of their buildings. And she goes, I never gave that number to them. Never. And I said, okay, good. Because I was thinking it was more like 10. Says, well, it's not 10, but it's not 40 or 50.
Okay. So it's more than 10. Okay.
That was too young.
Add the property
Too
value.
young.
Okay.
Well, how many acres is up there? It's huge. A 35,000 square foot building.
Three and
That's
a half,
an acre
3.5
alone.
acres.
3.5 acres. So
Yeah,
that's
that's what it
7 or
says.
$8 million right there.
How does it,
Oh, at
how does
least.
it, how does it compare with Vancouver's and Calgary's?
Well, they have
Centers.
small service
Like
centers.
they're
Tiny.
This
Small.
is a big lot like Costco.
Do you know how many parking spots they're gonna have? Did they mention how many parking spots?
No, but.
At a
there'll be
meeting
lot.
past, they only said they wanted at least for 100 cars. Well, that was when they were talking to us about a temporary thing.
Yeah,
So-
well, what's interesting is that whole intersection in Costco area with delivery trucks bringing hundreds of Teslas is gonna be an interesting sight.
Oh,
They need
it's gonna be interesting to see
chaos.
it go around the corner.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
It's
They'll
got
have
2
a-
lanes going up there anyhow.
They'll have a special Tesla ramp.
Will there be superchargers there, James? Any idea?
My guess is the service will have access to superchargers. I don't know if they'll make public access ones. They could. It's very possible. It'd be a
Maybe
good spot for it just off the Highway 1 there.
Is
It
that
might be too crowded.
a service center? to have
Yeah, the service center always usually has superchargers in the service space,
Inside?
inside the service space.
For the service people, yeah.
Yeah, for the service people to use when they're,
Well, it's going to be brilliant.
or before they get it back to you kind of thing.
You're going to be able to see this huge Tesla sign from the highway driving up island.
Yeah, I saw that in the
Oh,
rendering.
no.
That looks cool.
Oh, boy, is it ever.
Yeah.
It's spectacular.
So,
That engineer,
so
that block
David,
wall.
yeah, David, Heather and I were talking and we were thinking it'd be really great, really awesome if Tesla could have like a conference room or a small theater
Yes.
perhaps trusted groups will be able to use and, do briefings and stuff
Well,
like that.
just so you know, as owners clubs, you can do that. You guys, as the Tesla Owners Club of Vancouver Island, can use service and sales facilities up to,
I know the group in
For events.
Vancouver used the Vancouver one for meetings there.
Well, the
But
view is
Their
spectacular.
bus- That's during regular business hours, obviously.
yeah, well, yeah.
But
No
this
delete-
was at night when we had our meeting.
Well, yeah, they'll do evening ones too, yeah.
Spectacular view from that site.
Like
Unbelievable.
that.
Just gorgeous.
I'm excited.
They won't get any work done in the offices. They'll be staring out at the view.
That's awesome.
Dangerous.
And you guys got new superchargers somewhere?
No,
Is that
not yet.
true?
Seashell was getting some.
Oh, oh, right, okay.
What about Qualicum Beach? What about north of Nanaimo? Have you
I'm
guys
guessing that's coming. I actually was expecting to see something about that this year, but nothing. So I was expecting to see something north of Edmonton, nothing. So yeah, hopefully soon.
That's great.
They did the Prince George route? Is that-
Yeah, they did Prince
is that- is
George.
that the newest thing?
Yeah,
Sorry, I kind of changed the subject from
you're good.
safety scores, guys. So if anybody,
And then I could tell you, when you get into beta, your brain has to shift gears all to a whole different mindset. You've got to think. So some of the things that you'll notice with FSD beta, now it could change because they're evolving. But what can we tell you?
It drives a little haphazardly and now your car changes over time.
Yes,
Even
between
before-
updates.
Even between updates.
so the car will actually change behavior between updates. Nothing drastic, but you'll notice
Just
changes.
little things.
I swear, when I get the update, it's like lost all its memory. It does old stupid things, and then a day or two later, it seems to do
It's
better.
like, oh yeah, right, I remember. that.
There is these rumors going around that, recalibrating your cameras can help. I have seen that when you have some really weird issues, recalibrating the cameras can help. But that does take a lot of driving to recalibrate, more so than when you took delivery, when it seemed to be within like 10 kilometers, it recalibrated. When you
Those are like
recalibrate with the
ones when you-
button,
when you
it's
stay-
like 50 kilometers of driving on well-marked roads to get them to recalibrate. So do that sparingly.
is it,
Me.
Go ahead, Ian, sorry, yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I just give me the new cameras. I'm excited. I'll drive 50 kilometers, 50
Yeah.
miles.
is it my imagination, or do the beta drivers tend to drive when they know there's very little traffic?
You're not imagining it. It doesn't handle, so the car is doing better in congestion, but it's still not acting as it should. It doesn't anticipate like we do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it leaves it too late, and then it has to try to squeeze into a spot, which it doesn't doing, but it's getting better at it. Sometimes it wants to get over too early, and you're in this long line of traffic you don't need to be in because you can go up further to get over. But it's
You're also-
learning.
You're also dependent on a lot of map errors. So with
Yeah.
map errors, it doesn't matter whether the lanes are marked correctly. If there's a map error, it seems to override any other
Yeah,
kind of.
it's still using map as the primary versus vision. They haven't got to the point where vision overrules map.
But that's minor. That
Yeah.
is only localized to a few intersections.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm wondering, because here we have, people who are very keen and able to roll with the technology and the software, and very forgiving. I run around on 20 different EV sites around North America, and the average person is the average schmuck. They don't get half the stuff.
Yeah.
Well, they
Understand.
probably
And-
shouldn't get beta.
Yeah, it's horrible, and one guy absolutely lost his stuff when I made he came on to totally blast FSD beta, and he's a Canadian, so I was kind of like, are you really an actual Tesla owner at all, let alone a Canadian? But anyway, I just made a very comment. We all think we're better drivers than we are. And then I put that little gif of the 4-year-old girl going sideways in the little electric car with a.
Yeah. Woo, yeah.
He just lost it. I almost got banned from that site.
Wow.
But
Antagonist.
yeah, people are very, very sensitive about their driving.
Yeah.
I went on later and I put up a little picture, just saying, hey, when you have an independent oversight of your driving and it doesn't come out well, people are rarely happy.
Yeah, I'm a good driver is the biggest lie after I'm a virgin.
I'm an excellent driver.
I drive fine.
So Lisa, James, would either of you guys care to forecast when we might actually see FSD capable of robotaxi? Because
I have no idea.
no,
Robotaxi, you mean like you get in like autonomy level 5?
Well, I mean, yeah,
Take me drunk, I'm home.
because I mean, once again, there's all of these two
Only
percent. Some of them are saying 2024, which I do not accept for a moment. 2025, I'm thinking 2025, 2026, maybe
Yeah.
later. You guys think?
2025, 2026. So
Especially since they were talking about it in 2017.
yeah.
And since then, they've been forced to upgrade their computer systems and their cameras, and so they can really only see
So far.
so far, and then they're like, oh, this is a massive problem, and there's just, well, I mean, I'm sure they can do it. I just think that, yeah, like
10 years.
it's another couple of years.
David, you think 10 years?
I think 10 years because you've got the whole regulatory shit to pile on top.
Yeah.
That's
Well-
going to take 3 or 4 years right there.
Ian, do you mean regulatory approval or do you mean technical approval? Like it's technically able to do it,
Elon can do it, but he's waiting for.
but he's waiting for California, like we're waiting for
Something.
regulators.
Well, I
Because
was thinking
Will
technical,
take
technical in the
longer.
but in the state, I mean, clearly some environments, for example, Europe are going to be very difficult to navigate from
Yeah.
a regulatory point. But I know Canada probably won't be much easier, I would think. I mean, the
Yeah.
United States would
I'm,
be easiest.
I'm going to say that I'm not worried about regulatory at all. If the data is there and the
Yeah.
insurance industry looks at it and says, hey, this is a lot safer than the average schmuck.
Yeah.
And we will save money. We'll save money as insurers. And, you as society will save money as in people paying the bills for all the damages done for people who mess it up.
Yeah.
Regulatory stuff will just fall down directly after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking the legal environment too, right? Because the lawyers are going to want to weigh in on this whole thing.
Yeah. Like when the car is driving, who's responsible? Well, technically be Tesla. Yeah.
There's a certain
Sorry,
there's
David?
a resistance in the insurance industry to reduced premiums, which is a result of safer driving because 10% profit on 100 is a lot less than 10% profit on 1,000. So there's a huge industry resistance there built in.
Yeah.
And so safer driving, great. Their costs will drop, their profits will go up, but they won't necessarily want to endorse a technology that lowers premiums.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, it's going to be an interesting thing to navigate. The real trick to answering that question, Ian, is this version 11 that Elon's keeps talking about. It's that single stack to rule them all and moving to this photon-based neural networks,
Mhm.
bring that new maximum of what's capable in the hardware. So when that comes out, it's already been delayed, and we see how that changes over time. That will kind of help measure that yardstick. But I think your instincts are right, 2025, 2026 for the technical capabilities. I think level 4 autonomy, where we're going to we won't be able to be distracted. We'll have to stay in the loop and watch the system. I mean, Elon's estimate of this year is not impossible, but is it probable? I don't know. He said that many years in a row now. So it depends if they can crack this recipe that they're trying to figure out. Because I was talking to someone and they said it is like cooking. They've got the great chef, that's the AP team. They've got all the ingredients. Now they just have to come up with the recipe, and they're trying to figure out the recipe to make it work and be that perfect souffle. So if they can figure it out, I think they've got all the pieces. They just got to do the work.
I think they can do it. I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at how good AP is on the highway, it's almost flawless. Like,
Almost.
Like when I
Yeah.
go from home to work and I'm on the highway, well, once I'm on the highway, I find myself trusting it probably more than I should. But then,
Yeah.
and so if they can get that into this town streets and whatever Beta's working on right now, it'll be great.
And it's close.
And
I
it,
mean,
and it did take 2 or 3 or 4 years to get
Yeah.
highway stuff. I remember when we were driving to Stook and it was like doing stupid stuff. But
yeah,
now
David,
it's
when
like,
I would do drives with you to show how it changed, right? Like I'm just doing.
look, we only had
And I'm
5.
like, "Wah."
Yeah, you're like, you gonna slow down as we go down that?
I can see the robotaxi thing evolving out of something like truck convoys, where from point A to point B, where they, because a lot of distribution warehouses are close to the interstates exits, right, for practical reasons. So it makes a lot of sense to have these truck trains autonomously traveling. And then from that, people accept the notion that it's possible. And you're driving, you're passing perhaps 5, 6 trucks that are all linked, maybe with a driver, maybe not. When that starts to become commonplace, then the psyche, the population, suddenly it changes.
Yeah.
It's like high-speed trains. People were afraid to take steam trains because they were faster than a horse, and people thought that your soul got left behind you.
Yeah.
If you went faster than a horse. And the same thing with high-speed trains, that people resisted it until there was enough people doing it. So I don't know. I just think it'll take a while before it regulates to the point, because public will just simply say, bullshit. I can't believe the number of people are like almost violently opposed to the notion. And they start going on Tesla and what a bunch of crazy nuts they are to think that can happen. Even engineers. I mean, I know, in the car club, you can't avoid them.
They're everywhere.
Yeah. And there's a lot of them who just say, it's right next to us. It'll never have, not my time. Well, of course they're 80, so they can say that. I don't know. I think it's going to be cool to see it. And I think you're going to have some pretty efficient shifting of goods and people.
People would be like, I always knew they could. Yeah.
I can say this to you, when having used beta now for what is a year and a half,
Yeah.
I drive a car without FSD beta, I notice and I feel less safe. It's that. I mean, yes, it makes mistakes, but it's so good when I don't have it, I feel less safe.
I finally turned beta on for my profile.
Lisa's starting to use it.
For an entire year, I didn't use it, but I was a passenger whenever James would drive with the beta, and I could see it getting closer and closer, and at some point, it started to become better than me at my worst day. So then I turned it on.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I turn it on the city driving just because I feel safer because of the warnings and the stuff.
Yeah.
And I engage autopilot just in the city for that reason alone. Sometimes it's so frustrating, but a lot of times because I do feel like it's safer than me.
Yeah.
And twice on my trip to Ontario in 2018, it saved me from a serious incident.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, on my road trips, it saved me so many times, like especially long road trips where you start to doze off and you're like, whoops.
Yeah.
It's got your back, right?
Yeah, and you wake up in Regina and you're heading for Medicine Hat.
Yeah. But I can tell you, like, FSD beta sees things that I don't see. Like just the other week, in the morning, the sun is just at that spot where it's in your eyes as you're driving down the road. And I'm on an unmarked road and FSD beta is working on it. Cars parked on either side. And all of a sudden it slowed down and veered left. I'm like, what are you doing? And I looked up and there was a person coming between two cars right behind the sun there. It saw it and slowed down and went around. I didn't see it until I passed. I'm like, holy crap, there was a person there I didn't see.
Yeah, the thought of someone scares the shit out of me.
Yeah. So
a dog is bad enough, but a person, oh man.
Yeah, exactly.
I might
so
just
it's
drive
things that you just can't see because you can't see 360 degrees all the time.
That's right.
It's calculating vectors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of the points I pushed out to the police when I was showing them the Heather's Model Y.
Yeah.
Because they are the most distracted drivers on.
Yeah.
They've got radios yakking at them. They've got their own computer doing their thing. They're trying to keep a lookout to what's actually happening. And I say, and I showed it to them, going down a street. Here it is and just using autopilot. Here it is doing this. And this will see things jumping out at you, right?
Yeah.
Right. And because their worst nightmare is, some kid pops up from between cars.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Worst case scenario for them.
Yeah. Right on.
Yeah. And even Beta, I even had a situation where there was a pickup truck and someone was unloading the back of the pickup truck. It was facing the wrong way and Beta was coming up behind it. And it could see a pedestrian walking behind the pickup truck. And the math was right. And it gave me the possible collision alert, highlighted a red pedestrian behind the vehicle, but he stopped, obviously.
Yeah.
But it saw that and was like, this is looking like a collision alert possible. And it let me know. So, I mean, it's really impressive what it's seeing that, so many average humans aren't paying attention to.
And it's nice that it values the humans
Yes.
more than the cars.
Always.
Like it will slow down for sure
For
if
a
the
human.
humans coming, but if it's a car, it's almost like, you have to do it a lot of times to figure this out, but it is very sensitive to humans.
Bikes and humans.
Bikes.
Bikes and humans,
Yeah.
it treats with this massive safety bubble around them.
Yeah, no, we're walking along and there's someone, not so much on sidewalks, but on areas where there is no sidewalk, like down
Yeah.
the spit here. And I noticed if someone pedestrian who might even, I don't know what the distance is, but it can be, they can be like 3 feet away or 4 feet
Yeah.
away from the edge of the asphalt where it sees the blue line and puts one down. I don't know how it sees it. And there's a distance where it doesn't slow down. But
Yeah.
if a person's within this distance, and it's fairly broad,
Yeah.
it'll slow down quite a bit. And I'm thinking, you know, we should all be doing that,
Yeah,
but we never
We
do.
don't.
yeah.
Because that person could easily suddenly go, oh, and turn, or the person they're walking with go say, hey, look at the seagull, or look at the eagle swooping in, and they turn. And when people turn, they often take a step to the left, let's say,
Yeah.
then boom. So I'm really, I often, and same with crosswalks, it tends to slow down for crosswalks, and there's no
Yeah.
one in it. But we
Yeah.
should really be slowing down for
Yeah,
crosswalks.
because someone could cross. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, we're not all good drivers.
No,
No,
we get into bad habits.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
at least they took care of railway crossings because there's no trains left anyway. So there's train tracks, but people all see in Langford now, they all park on it, like those weird intersections with the railroad,
Oh,
because everybody knows
Sure.
there's no trains left.
and let me say this to you guys, and make sure you tell this to people that ask. For beta to learn, you have to disengage when it does something wrong. Don't let it do something bad. There's so many misinformed people here that think they have to let it learn. Well, no,
Oh,
letting it drive over a curb or hit a curb is not teaching it anything. It's
it
just
only knows-
damaging
it
your
only
car.
knows right and wrong, and if
Yeah.
you don't see anything, it's like, oh, I did it perfectly.
Yeah, so if you don't intervene, it doesn't know that it's doing something wrong. So intervene, like any instinct, intervene, you're teaching. That's what they're looking for, is those interventions. And the biggest thing I'm seeing here in California and the US is people are trying to get these zero intervention drives and post them. I'm like, that's not, who cares? Just teach it. Don't worry about how many interventions. That's Elon's job. Let that guy worry about that. Let's do our jobs and drive our cars in a safe manner. Because people are, it's like here, like for example, in a roundabout, it wants to stop, even though you can see that you can go. So I'm like, let's go. Don't come to a stop. It's a yield, not a stop sign. So, but people have come to a stop. So it's like, well, that's not helping it. You're just letting it do something that's not, legally accurate.
Yeah,
And
people
then,
are doing that because they want more YouTube clicks.
yeah, because they say they didn't do an intervention. Exactly. So
That doesn't-
that social aspect is starting to influence people's behavior. And when Elon tweeted that they're seeing it's rare for interventions, I actually responded to him like, what are you talking about? I'm like, can I have your build? Because I'm getting interventions. I even emailed the early access team. I'm like, guys, this tweet from Elon, are you getting the data from my car? Because like, I'm seeing a lot of interventions here. I don't know what this is about. Is there any other information I can share to you? Because what I'm worried is Tesla is such a data-oriented company. Sometimes they forget to look at the data source. And like, if people aren't intervening and they're just trusting that means it's zero interventions, it's like, well, what's the what are they
Yeah.
in that situation? Are they just letting it do stupid things and therefore it's safe? Like, I don't think so. So that's my biggest, I trust Tesla. I do, because they know how to interpret the data. They know what they're doing. But I also know Elon's putting immense pressure on them to get this progressing as fast as humanly possible. So,
So if
balance.
it's bad though, if the data is bad, I mean, Tesla needs to get on this and I mean, that's concerning to me, what you just said.
Well, I mean, I think it's okay. Don't read too much into it,
I
Ian.
hope they're actually looking at the data.
I
too.
think they're looking at the data because they have staff driving that can't talk about it publicly. And they'll be reporting true information because they can't get the clicks, because they can't post videos about it and they can't get that side of it, the equation. So
They must get more information rather than
Yeah.
just the zero intervention drive. There must be
Well-
there's like safety score type information that comes back too, that says, okay, well, this guy got a zero intervention, but oh my God, look at all of these other things.
yeah,
So, yeah.
Yeah,
So there's, so the system obviously flagged, even though there are zero interventions, they're getting the data and somehow the machine is flagging these
yes.
Other
problems.
things too.
And the biggest thing you can do, the other thing you can do is if you don't do an intervention, say you let it come to a complete stop and let it proceed on your own. When you get the beta, you get an AP snapshot button. It's a little camera along the top of the thing that you tap. What that is it's the equivalent of reporting an intervention that you didn't intervene on. So it did something that wasn't good, that you didn't intervene. And when you push the button, it's that point back 10 seconds that it sends a video clip and all sensor information. So
Oh,
that's what they give you 10 seconds. So you have enough time to be safe, you know, start counting 10 in your head and then hit that button and it gets that 10-second window to report it.
I've seen you do it.
So what's concerning me here the most, and I don't want to, get into jump down the rabbit hole here, but what Glenn was saying earlier about so many idiots out there. I mean,
Yeah.
we're basically trusting, once this thing rolls out, you're entrusting the people that have issues to provide the data that Tesla is relying on to, I mean, do I trust somebody like the person in Glenn described to be pressing the button and sending the data to Tesla? I don't know. Am I overreacting?
They have an algorithm. So I did learn Tesla has a way to detect bad data. And I like, they won't tell you it. It's proprietary information.
Okay,
But
good.
we're watching for people doing things that are wrong, right? So like,
Because
there's some
they
rules
don't
of
all-
law that they won't break. Like you can't go over the speed limit, right? You can't run stop signs. You can't do this. You can't go over a curb. So they won't let the system learn to do something that it shouldn't do, right? So they won't let the erroneous data influence the neural network because the neural network will have these hard limits. Like you can't hit a human being. Like, so, I mean, there'll be these hard limits that will keep it from being something that can be taught to do something dangerously. I trust Tesla for that and how they're going to make sure erroneous data isn't allowed to enter the neural network's training algorithms. Because right now, so this is where that right now they have a lot of manually labeling. Like they have hundreds of staff. From what I understand, this is rumor, I don't have any hard information, that's labeling information for Tesla and saying, this is the edge of the road, this is the road line, this is a human, this is a dog. So when the car sees something, it's like, I don't know what this is, and it flags it, and then it goes to a human, the human labels the data. That's all a lot done by hand. They're trying to automate a lot of that. So they're teaching the system to learn how to label data properly. And then if it runs into a problem, it then goes to a human for saying, can you help me learn what this is and where everything should go? So as that advances, it's supposed to make it quicker to allow the system to learn faster. And when I was talking to the early access team, one of the studies is when you guys can do it, I'd love to come and tour your offices and see how you do this. So I can understand what they're doing. Like I'll never understand the deep neural networks and the, matrices and the statistics and all that kind of stuff, but just the day-to-day, how they're teaching this and how they're working through in their processes and procedures, because that will help me understand and trust what's going on. That's the biggest thing. Like David was saying, we need to learn to trust what this is, and a robot can be trusted as much as we trust another human not to kill you as you're walking across the street. So that trust relationship is going to be key to acceptance of this kind of system. Like you were saying, Ian, I mean, a little bit of worry about, well, are they allowing these idiot drivers to teach this thing how to drive?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a valid concern. I mean,
Like the drivers as
an idiot, yeah.
idiot driver, and
Yeah.
therefore we're gonna just like
Ignore the
play
data.
all of your stuff.
Yeah,
And not take it as gospel.
that may be a good question to ask Elon, how they
Yeah,
weed out that
because they
information.
know that most people are regular and truthful and want to do the right thing. But there's going to be 10% of these idiots out there that just want to
And they have beta.
mess it up.
I
Or,
guarantee you they have
know,
beta.
they're
Oh, yeah.
like PM plants or something, and they're like
Tesla
trying
Q.
to drive dumb.
Yeah.
Well, we have a very concrete and steel tower in downtown Langford that's vacant because somebody screwed up and it's not safe. So it's vacant, it's empty, it's brand new.
Wow.
They're opening it
High
again.
rise. And an engineer screwed up.
And that was Christmas Eve. That was Christmas Eve.
Mistakes
Wow.
happen,
Picking people up.
even by educated people who are apparently not schleppdog pinheads. So I think that the stupid who are contributing are part of the game, right? Like
They are.
not everybody on the football team's got a good IQ.
No.
Some of them have to be pointed to the line of scrimmage after the huddle.
But the good news is I can say I've never seen beta in the last year and a half do anything that I would be concerned about. Like
Yeah.
it's never done anything illegal. I mean, even the stupid rolling stop recall on beta. I mean, I get why they did it, and it's accurate because Tesla put in writing that it does a rolling stop, and that's against the law. You can't rolling stop through a stop sign. But here, it's very normal for that to be part of the driving experience. So that's why they did it. But so for example, also, Ian, where regulatory bodies will make sure that the system isn't doing things that are illegal or not proper because they're also watching.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, James, the decision to intervene and go
Yeah.
based solely on peer pressure because someone's sitting behind you and it's taking a little long. How do you make that decision when to go and intervene and go? And does it learn from that? Or
Yeah, okay, so yes and no. So I can give you an example. The biggest one for me is the red on right. That's where I feel the greatest pressure as a driver for the people behind me I'm impacting, because Beta will do it by the book.
And they're
Yeah.
It sees a red light, it stops at the line.
And
It
looks,
waits,
and
it
looks.
creeps forward, it waits, creeps forward, it waits, then it goes. Whereas everyone else goes right through the light, like this, the line,
Kind of like looking
does the
as they're
45
driving.
degree, stops looking while they're moving forward, looks left, and then goes. So that kind of, that's where I'm feeling like, for me as a beta tester, that I feel the greatest pressure there because I worry about the line behind me. But where my line is I try to remember the law. I'm like, okay, I have to stop at this line, so I let it stop. If it takes too long to roll forward, I make sure there's no pedestrians. And then I say, roll forward a little bit. I tap on the accelerator and force it to roll, to look. So I try to encourage it to be quicker on the decision to proceed from that safe point. And
you should
that's
put a,
try to do it.
And I think it's fine.
you can put a little learner thing on your bumper so people think you're learning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Some wanted to do a new
Yeah, new driver.
bot next to it.
or a little, or a little beta symbol.
Yeah, beta, the beta symbol, new driver.
Beta, new drive.
Yeah.
Wouldn't hurt actually. It's like the driver ed cars have learner
Yeah.
driver on it, and it wouldn't hurt if the betas had a little sticker we could
We
put
need a
on the
sticker.
car.
My car is learning to drive. Be patient.
Yeah,
I've seen some cars.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. But it is learning. It is getting better.
what was that, Heather?
I've seen some cars in the Canadian club, maybe people in Ontario that have made stickers with like the autopilot symbol, a
Yeah.
little thing about learning to drive. So
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Learning
it.
drivers have that stuck on the bus.
Yeah.
So James, this whole labeling thing, Lisa, James, you alluded to learning and, or rather labeling, and I thought that's what Dojo was eventually supposed to
Yes.
accomplish.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
okay,
But Elon revealed that autopilot and full self-driving is not required. Dojo isn't required for full self-driving.
Yeah, I
Dojo
was
is just to
there.
help it do it faster.
right.
Yes.
Okay, to get there,
Yeah, because GPUs have a limit and they're trying to get past with the GPU. So Dojo is trying to breach the GPU processing capabilities. And because that's what they're using now is massive superclusters of GPUs to process all this neural network data and help teach the neural network. Dojo is just trying to make that faster. And it's infinitely scalable, like infinitely. They can make it as big as they can afford it and how much power they can feed it. So yeah,
So when-
David, I agree. It's mind blowing what this technology can do.
Yeah.
It's
Where is
on,
it?
it's up now. They're building the alpha prototype or beta prototype,
Where?
Wow.
assuming in Texas, because cheap power and less regulation.
Yeah, they didn't really say where it's gonna be.
Cheap power would be the big thing. Is there anything else that was important for these guys on this that would be helpful?
Discussed
Oh.
everything.
The biggest one that I can tell you is by joining the beta program, you also do not have any warranty for anything stupid it does. So don't assume because the car rims your wheel that Tesla
Which
will not
will.
fix that. It will. It will.
It goes too close to the curb.
That
gotta
is
make sure it's-
not covered by Tesla. You are accepting all risk and liability for being a beta tester. So
That's
it's
good point.
use at your own risk. So don't let people think, oh, well, if it does something stupid, Tesla's got it. No, nope. Even if just now, this is kind of a wild one, but we were having problems with our FSD computer, and I have a friend that's a tech, and he looked at it and he's like, well, we're going to do this, but if it doesn't fix it, you're going to need a new computer and you're out of warranty. It's
What?
not covered because you're in beta. That's a $2,500 computer,
When
FSD
did that
computer.
happen?
FSD computer was freaking out and
Yeah.
not doing anything and was locked up. It was having these weird, hard internal faults on one of the processing boards.
And because we have beta, that happened?
Yeah,
Or
because
we
beta's
have
running
beta,
on
they
the
won't pay
both
for it?
chips. Beta's running on both chips at full, like it's using the whole FSD computer.
But it's
And one
also
of the
out of
computers was
warranty.
faulty. Yeah, we're out of warranty.
So if we were in warranty, then it would be.
It would have been covered, yeah, because then the computers, unless you're an idiot like me that drives too much.
Old car problems.
Yeah. 88,000 miles on it, on that 3.
Holy smokes.
Stop a year and a half ago.
In a pandemic.
Otherwise we'd be well over 100.
Oh, we'd be over 100 now.
Well, man, oh man, that's an hour and a half gone like in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you guys have any other questions specific that you want to ask?
Can't think of anything.
Nope, I think
When
you've
you
answered.
get beta, if you want to do another session and go over anything that's, that you're seeing and you want to talk about, let me know for sure. Happy to.
Because it's a whole new ball of wax.
You'll have a whole bunch of questions. trust me. You're gonna be like, what is he
What?
thinking?
How do I turn this off?
Yeah.
Which you can do.
Which you can
turn it
do.
off.
You can actually turn
It's
it off
nice.
without
Oh.
giving it up. You can turn it off.
Yeah.
And Dave, you can have it on your profile and not on anyone else's. So
Well, that was the question. Different profiles, that's separate application or?
different applications. Every profile has to enable it and accept the terms of using beta. Every single profile.
And do the test, the safety score and qualify.
No,
No.
the car
Oh.
just has to do once.
Okay.
Yeah, not every profile.
Hmm.